Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's live webinar. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui from 𝐒𝐯 Marketing Agency, and I have a very special guest today. You are aware of our special guest, and we're going to be talking today script report. And I have Carl, and we've been producing lots of live every now and then. And if you are new to this live webinar, I would request Carl to give a little bit introduction about you, and then we will jump into the conversation. Hello, Carl. How are you?
Hi, very well. Good to see you, Shah.
Yeah, thank you. So if you could give a little bit of introduction to the audience, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, my background coming to screenwriting is very much as a producer. I've started to look at scripts quite a lot after finishing my studies, and then reading screenplays for European Script Fund creative media program when they were in London, as well as then also script submissions that came to me when I then started producing. And based on that, later on, the University of Oxford asked me to lead their screenwriting program, which I still do. So have always been combining teaching and producing, teaching including running film courses when I'm at SHA, quite some time ago now, and also working on different feature film and television productions.
Thank you, Carl. And you know that Carl is the founder of Online Screenwriting Academy. So he's been teaching, he was my teacher. Those people you don't know, 20 years back, I learned a lot of things from him and still implementing them. And he has a list of people. They are in the top levels on Amazon, and in British film industry, and as well as the US film industry. So if you have any question, feel free to ask us through the comment box. We are taking questions from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all other social media. And you know that this is live broadcasting to all the social medias. So if you have any question, feel free to ask us, and we will try to answer those questions for you. So to start the conversation, Carl, as script writing, we're talking about script writing and idea to production consultancy. Why it is important nowadays? People, those are thinking about script writing, and what they usually need to do when they start their thinking of script writing.
Well, what usually brings them is some kind of idea. It's some kind of for a story that they want to tell, something that may come out of their lives, or maybe there's a perspective that they feel is underserved, that those kind of stories aren't being told. And that's usually the starting point, where then we have conversations about what kind of shape this could take in order to find an audience. So we also look at a lot of other films. So what people, well, put it that way, what's difficult is when people want to sort of, let's say they watch some kind of programs, but want to write something completely different. I think it's important that that screenwriters immerse themselves in the kind of work that they want to write, and then we can look at these examples. Is it a bit like this? Is it a bit like that film or show? We can look at how these shows solve particular writing problems that we are facing, and then we can look at the solutions, evaluate them, in this idea to production consultancy. What we also do, what's quite important alongside that, is also then think about where are the kind of people who can turn this script into a film or show, because that's of course important.
Thank you, Carl. And when we talk about script report, script writing, they both of them are, I think, have to marry together, isn't it? Because when you have a script and you don't know how to improve it without a proper person, so a script report can easily give or tailor methodology to the script writer in what they have to improve, what they have to adjust or modify. How important in relation with, like, okay, if I am a script writer and I need a second opinion, how important it is to get a fresh pair of eyes to inspect the script and then get a report.
I think it's absolutely essential. I mean, screenwriting is quite different from other forms of writing, like poetry or novels or life writing, because if you pursue those different kind of formats, you can actually show the result. You can self-publish it. You can join spoken word communities and so build an audience for your poems, or give it to your friends and family to read, as I have received. So you can build it up this way, and that way you also control the output. Screenwriting is differently, because the script itself isn't really it's not its own end. The script is really designed and written for other professional readers to read it and then say, yes, we want to make a film or television show based on what you've written. So it's not a kind of creativity that shapes the whole experience. Instead, it's screenwriting uses a creativity that is then the foundation for lots of other people's creativity, so that the producer sees what kind of markets could be reached, what kind of team should be brought to this. A director can see what kind of actors they would like to cast and what they want the emotional trajectory to be. A cinematographer to see how this should be shot, how the images should be framed. So all these other creativities come to it. So we understand that this is quite complex. So when you have your first draft, it is important to check where, and how far is that achieving, and how far is there a movie developing in a reader's head. And script reports can be one formal way. And to do that, I mean, strictly speaking, script report is if you submit the screenplay to the British Film Institute, or all over the world, there may be other film commission and public film funders or private film funders, and so on. If they would usually, if it's properly presented, commission a script report to then see in how far does it fit to the kind of films or shows that we make, and so on. Is it any good? But of course, you don't want to send your first draft on that, because then they say, this is a writer who approaches us far too early in their trajectory, so you don't build a good reputation. These kind of people read your script only once, even if you know them, if you've met them, and you send a later improved version, they'll never look at it again with the same anticipation as when they look at it for the first time. So you really want to make sure you put your best foot forward. Otherwise, all that work you've done so far is for nothing. So that's why getting, for example, me to write a script report will give you an early warning about what maybe are the achievements. I mean, but are there other areas you should still work on before you send it to the people who could be capable of making this into a film. As well as that, because let's say the whole screenwriting. One of my writers in a writers group put it very, very well. She suddenly understood. The light bulb went on, calling the screenplay a democratic document. And I thought that was very perceptive, because yes, the screenplay is like, certainly in its later stages, when you've got a producer, director, community around it, it is like an agreement to say, yeah, this is the film that we want to make. But in order to get there, you'll need to talk to a lot of people, and so it's helpful that you know what it is that you achieved, who is right for this, and all that can be clarified with a script report you commission in advance. But it also means that if you actually have somebody from the industry who's read your script, that they quite often, the producer or executive, they don't read it themselves, but they have somebody else reading it for them. It's always good to ask, even if they say no, it's not for us. It's always good to ask if you can have the script report, because that maybe help you to make it better.
That's a great explanation, Carl, because when people are thinking about their script, like in business, what we do, we bring fresh set of eyes to understand where we are doing wrong. Because when you are in something, you cannot feel it, or you cannot see little of the corner or little of the things, how you can actually adjust those things for your perfections. So if you have a set of eyes, and then the experienced eyes can let you know, like, okay, I think you can change there, you can change there, and these are the way you become perfect. And thank you, everyone. So if to all the people that are watching today, if you wanted to ask us any question, feel free to ask us through the comment box. We will be happy to answer your calls. And please also, if you're watching this webinar on LinkedIn or any other social media, feel free to share this webinar with your friends, family. If they are working on a new scripts and they are looking for a script report, we have an experienced person here who is working for ages now, and he can tailor your methodology to the next levels. And Carl, as I think some of the audience, they already know that with Online Screenwriting Academy, Screen Report is one of the area that you support in, and you also support in 100 pages in 10 weeks. And we also have on the Screenwriting Academy idea to production consultancy and one-to-one coaching session. So can you little bit describe about idea to production consultancy and one-to-one coaching session for our audience?
Yeah, let's start the idea to production as sort of the more comprehensive program. It's really about that, looking at the ideas, maybe looking at several ideas you might have, and then we can evaluate, is this the right idea at this time? What are the implications? Because that's just the little benefit that I get from my experience. I can see what kind of challenges might be ahead, and some of these will be good challenges with which a screenwriter can grow. Some of these can be a bit too steep, really be counterproductive. So we'll have a conversation about that then, and then we'll also can discuss what kind of process would be right here, and what kind of things we might want to try out. I mean, screenwriters never start writing in script form exterior of the station day, and so on. We always have some kind of preparation documents, and that will be individual. That will be quite individual for different writers. Some of them will use beat sheets, others a treatment or step outline, to find what kind of level of detail is good to develop the story. I mean, just briefly, you'll see it's quite, if you write whatever 2-page beat sheet or 10-page treatment, and we look at what works and what doesn't, you will be able to write some substantial improvements over one weekend. You can rewrite the whole thing, actually. Based on the insights from our conversations. Whereas if I do look at entire screenplay, then to make substantial changes will take weeks and months. So these instruments are quite good, and we'll need to have a discussion about what may be suitable for a particular writer. I mean, just briefly, some writers, particularly earlier writers, they like to go through all these documents in order to get a feel for them, and also because all these documents just add a little bit more detail, so you can focus on, in the last stage, step outline is a paragraph per scene, then you just add the dialogue. So you've got smaller challenges. As in any learning process, you want to, in the beginning, have smaller learning steps before you move on to bigger learning steps. So we break that down, and then we go through the writing. So idea to production, consultancy, we can work up to once a week, across an entire year. So there is a time to really make sure that we've got a that we don't just address the script, but also the writer and their process. Then, very briefly, the coaching is for people who can't commit to a year, because that's also more expensive, £3,450. I understand not everybody can do that. So that's why in parallel I offer 10 coaching sessions, where we in the first session agree what kind of stretch do we do. Do we want to focus on idea evaluation and selection, and then maybe end up with a treatment? Or maybe you've already got a treatment and you flash that out into a script, and every week we look at 10 pages of a script. There's lots of different ways how we do the 10 weeks. It's also freely, both are freely scheduled. Never had any problems about not finding common ground regarding the timing. And then we go through over 10 weeks towards a defined goal, and then people quite regularly come back when they've got a different idea or when they've got the next stage that they want to discuss.
That was a great explanation, Carl. My next questions, idea to production consultancy and script report, as you described, they work hand to hand, because you need to understand idea to production, and then is the extra things, okay, script report when it is ready. So as you described, that it takes some time. So what's the critical workflow end to end? Like if I wanted to develop a script, how long it will take from my idea to production, and then a script report, and then handing it to producer?
Well, you wouldn't necessarily need a script report, if you're writing it here and you're writing it with my guidance. I mean, it would then be probably the other producer who we've identified might be in a good position to work with you, because it fits into their company profile and fits into their comfort zone. They might generate a script report. It's more like, I think the script reports that I provide is more, if for anybody here who already has a script, and would like to see, well, you know, you would like to work with me more, but wants to see in a little bit more detail what I think has been achieved and where we would need to work on, can commission me to write a script report. And if you know, that always happens. It's, you know, these kind of relationships in a way, you know, like any other partnerships, including life partnerships. If I'm writing a script report and I'm seeing, let's say, different achievements and shortcomings than you do, you know, then you know, you can look for somebody else, but you know, that rarely happens. But it would be then a starting point then to work together, maybe in 100 pages in 10 weeks, if we've you know, that we identify what needs to improve. Maybe it's the structure, maybe it's understanding a particular character, maybe we are sort of the genre, the work with genre is a bit changing throughout the script or so. And then we'll, you know, there may be a short list of things that we want to work on, and then we work on 10 pages every week in order to improve that. But yeah, that's, for example, can start with me doing a script report.
Oh, that's a great thing that you mentioned, 100 page in 10 weeks. We had a program last month talking about 100 pages in 10 weeks. And you will have I think in October starting, isn't it? The new cohort. So could you please describe a little bit of 100 page in 10 weeks and the significance of working with you and what the learners will get from there?
100 pages in 10 weeks is a group experience. And it's also designed for people who have already a working knowledge about, let's say, the basic concepts of story structure, 3-act structure, perhaps, of characterization, how to get a character across, and working with genre. That can be from other filmmaking work, making short films and so on. That can be through other courses, lots of courses about it, and it can also be from books. Because when we start 100 pages in 10 weeks, we don't really have much time to explain these concepts. We will talk a lot about how to implement good characterization, how to build an exciting structure, how to get engaging characters and so on. But it's more about the application rather than explaining the core principles. And so you'd also already need to have your project, because you would sort of briefly explain that in the first session, what it is, then do a beat sheet. I explain in the first session also how to do a usable beat sheet that will be your best friend across those 10 weeks when you write. Then in the following week present your beat sheet, and then you write 10 pages and more every week, and we will read participant work every week in distributed roles, so you hear your script read out by different people. And that can be really, really valuable, because rather than me writing a long evaluation, what I think, what works and what doesn't, you hear it, you experience your script, and you see where the character loses their voice, or where the tension sags because the scenes are too long, and, you know, all those kind of things. So you experience what works and what doesn't, and, you know, can take notes and make sure that you improve your work. And it's also the other thing that's really what people say is very helpful, that every week there's 10 people, 10, I close it at 11, because that's, let's say, the size, the maximum size of participants where everybody can get heard during a session. We read this in distributed distributed roles. And then we have a discussion where, let's say in the beginning, I need to sort of get the whole discussion rolling a bit, but certainly by week 4, 5, 6, everybody is then learning how to talk about work and talk about achievements and so on, and where people could to do better and what worked for them. And that is so you can get as part of these 10 weeks a very clear idea about what you have achieved, maybe what you want to do on the next draft. Usually when people finish with 100 pages in 10 weeks, they know they've got a lot more to do before they send it out. And also because there's every week other people are waiting for your 10 pages, you think about it throughout the week. So it's a very good way to make sure that you'll have something good first draft. Maybe you don't do the whole 100 pages or so, doesn't always happen, but you've got a substantial start and you know what to do next after those 10 weeks. That's what everybody gets.
That's a great explanation. So to all the viewers, if you are watching these lives, it is also, you can watch these lives on replay as well. And if you're thinking like, okay, you need to start your script writing, it's not end of the day, because the way Carl described the 100 pages in 10 weeks and all script idea to production consultancy or one-to-one coaching and mentorships, and at the end, a script report. So there is a different stages here. So you might include in one of the stages, and if you like working in the next levels, it's just like a relation with building to the next level. So if you're thinking like, okay, you have a script and you want Carl to check what you have written and how you have written, and if you want an observation from him, is the right time for you to share your script with Carl. And I think until you share with someone, you don't know the gaps. Your script might be very strong, your script might be excellent, but until you know from an expert person, you don't know what is it about. As Carl said previously, if you send a script to a producer, when they will check it, if they like it, oh, that's well done. But if they don't, it's just like the first impression. So if you do not have first impression better, then they will not look into your script on the second time. So this is very important, that before you send a script to a production company or a producer or someone or a director, better to engage someone professional and then get a set of observations, a report from them. And that will tailor your methodology to the next levels. So, Carl, my next question, how can I develop a strong concept? And when I do know that my concept is translated to a strong script?
Well, the things we're looking for is a concept that allows a lot of conflict to happen. Because when we see conflict, I mean, even if you're on your laptop at home, at work, in a cafe, and so on, and you suddenly hear people arguing loudly, you hear loud voices, no matter what I say here now, the secrets of screenwriting and so on, your attention is where the conflict is. So conflict is very important in order to drive audience attention. So the concept should allow for these conflicts to develop. The other thing that's very important is that the story for screenwriting needs to unfold visually. I mean, it can be sometimes in the beginning that everything is very much in the characters' heads, but we need to find a way then, as we develop the concept, how do we externalize that? How do we make that visible? How do we dramatize that? And then also think about, is it a concept that people are interested in now? Does it have something to say about the world? Is there something about that story? You can think about even sort of, what would the director say on a misty Monday morning at 6 o'clock when the whole crew is sort of gathering for the first time? Why are we getting up and sort of spending all this money to make this film? What's the purpose here? So to have that sense of purpose is also very useful for a concept. I think that's probably enough to start with, but you can see there's lots of other sort of probing questions that we can have around the concept in order to test it and think through what does it mean. I'm always careful about saying, oh, excellent writing, screenwriting. Yeah, that's certainly what we pursue. But there's often people find excellent in a particular area, and maybe an excellent work with genre or an excellent characterization, but are all the other areas excellent? And then there's also the question about excellent for whom. Who do you want to work with? Does it really fit into what we're trying to be here? So it's not just sort of a general excellent, but it's also an excellence in relation to lots of criteria and in relation to lots of people.
That's a great explanation, Carl. We have a message from Tariq Wahar, and it's a few questions here. Can you see the questions? Thank you very much for sending your questions, and I would request all the viewers you're watching now. I know you are watching, as I can see the numbers, and if you wanted to ask questions, feel free to ask us through the comment box from YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. A few questions about the script reporting from Tariq. Under what headings are script judged?
What we usually do is first the reader would write a log line, which is not really so much of a judgment, but it's mainly an administrative tool. The script where the couple robs a petrol station and goes on the run, or something like this. It's mainly for people in an office. Who's seen the script where the couple and so on, or when there is a development meeting where lots of script submissions are discussed, to really a sentence that allows somebody with a bit of familiarity recognize that script. But it's worth mentioning that, because if you have a script that is difficult to summarize in a log line, then we have a problem. If it's just sort of the ideas are too sprawling, or events don't hang enough together, it's worth probably rethinking that, in order to have that kind of, to make that kind of focus possible. Then there is usually a summary, which should be as objective as possible, but it's still interesting for the writer and for me as a producer, how that particular reader would put that, summarize that story. What are the things they pick up on, and so on? Does a summary read coherently and so on? Even though at that stage a reader is not asked to give any opinion yet. So, that can then depend on the different organization, how much they pay and so on. That can be a paragraph, it can be a page or so, that summary. And then you go into opinion, which includes sort of all the criteria we've just discussed in the last half an hour. What's the structure like? Is there a good premise? Is there tension? Does tension build, or does the tension sag? Do I understand who these characters are? Or do they feel really distant? How does it work with genre? Does it just tick all the boxes of a thriller or a horror all the kind of scenes I would expect in a undercover cop show? Or does it also sort of play with my expectations in an interesting way? I mean, Chris Nolan always does it. He sort of does a thriller like in Memento, but he tells it backwards. Or he does an action film, but it plays in a dream and different levels of dreams. So that way, yeah, it is an action film, but he's also surprising. So that's also what we sort of deal with, let's say, the balance between familiarity and surprise, because we need both. If there's nothing familiar, it may look really weird and odd, and I can't really sort of relate to it. If it's only familiar, no surprises, it will be quite boring. So that will be there will be at least that, and then depending on the organization and let's say the stage, there may be marketability. What other films are out there that might go for a similar audience? How well have they done? How well might this do? Yeah, is it visual? Do we think, does the reader with, let's say, that experience of the industry, does the reader think, yeah, I mean, this is a film that can be made for some of money, but when we get it out there, sell it to streamers, when it's out in the cinemas and so on, that more money will come back than we spend of it. Actually, twice as much money needs to come back in order to pay also for all the advertising and so on. So if we think, oh, this needs a lot of money because it's period and a lot of special effects and so on, but then not enough is coming back just looking at the results of other films, then we know we might like the script, but if we don't see a way to make that profitable, then there's already the end. So there may be sort of, marketing, audience, and so on. And, then at an advanced level, there will be a team assessment, as well. And then leading to a conclusion whether it is recommended, whether we should pass on it, or sometimes there are also stages in between. Keep an eye on this writer, so get a second opinion and so on.
So I think thank you, Carl, for your explanation. So I think Carl has answered most of your questions, Tariq, from end to end. So if you have any more questions, feel free to ask us, and we're going to be jumping into the conversation. Carl?
I just see the question here. There's, the point system is according to maybe these criteria. So every organization will have different criteria, and then allocate points. Also depending on the grading, that can be a Likert scale between very poor to excellent and so on. So that will, the higher you score under the different criteria, the more points you will get. And how many script reports there need to be? That is really a very individual journey. If certainly also what your role is and who you are. I think most people here are screenwriters. If you've got a script report that it's not really, yes, we're going to make it, but at least that is positive enough for the producer to want to meet with you and discuss it, and then after that, completely different criteria become added to that. For example, in how far after that conversation the producer thinks, yes, the writer and I want to make this a same or a similar film, or at least the writer's got an interesting version and I've got an interesting version. Let's see what comes out of that. Where sometimes we also have meetings where somebody wants to clearly make a very different film. I thought you want to make that. I think it's going to be a comedy. I thought it's really funny. And, that person thinks it's going to be a drama or horror. And I think, we're just too far apart. Very nice meeting. It's a good project. keep us up to date. But at that stage, I see that sort of what I see in this script and what they see in this script may be different. So, but you know, then you have that human interaction, and that's important. So then, you know, and depends on, you know, that's where coaching can be very helpful, to give you guidance to see when a producer sort of sees maybe a comedy in there. You know, can you really, in order to get the deal and get the film made, can you make it work as a comedy? What work do we need to do? What kind of comedy would it be? Gross out comedy or slapstick comedy? You know, what films can we look at in order to say, yes, we can support that vision to turn it into a comedy or a thriller or whatever it is, you know. And then if that producer has a feeling, yes, I can not just, I like the script, but I also like the writer, because ultimately they make deals with other people. They don't make deals with a script, they make a deal with a writer. So that's a lot more important, because they want to have that feeling, yeah, because they will later on, you know, later on, I think Tariq made that point, there will be other script reports, because then that producer goes to the British Film Institute and Film 4 and sort of all these people. And then they will generate script reports as well to say whether it's a Film 4 film, whether it's what the BFI wants to do now. So, and you know, if the Film 4 says, yes, we would like this, you know, would like this as a comedy, but we want to have it more slapstick. Okay, you know, as a producer, I want to work with a writer who then goes on that journey on with me to say, yeah, we have, you know, poor writer, you had my comments as a producer, but now we've got more comments. But such is a journey. You need the finances to buy into the script as well and say, yeah, we want more slapstick, for example, whatever they say. And then the writer will work with me in order to that Film 4, for example, will want to join that project. And I need to have that confidence from that earlier meeting that, yeah, with that writer, I can, you know, I can take it out there. And I'm happy to take them to a meeting at the British Film Institute or so, and together we'll fight this through.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Tariq, and thank you everyone for joining today's live webinar. I just wanted to ask you, because we're going to be ending this webinar today in 45 minutes, so we just have a few more minutes to talk about. At the end, I just wanted to ask you a very critical questions. Can you add 5 key points here before we send our script to the producer? What we need to look into, 5 key points as a recap. Like, I have a script report, or I have a script, I don't have the report, but before I send it to the producer, what 5 key things I need to fix?
Well, yeah, I think that's we've touched on that, but it's always good to summarize that it's clear what it is about. There's a clear conflict and tension building. There's anticipation, what's going to happen next with this, that the characters are clear. That you know, I do relate to them, and deliberately say not necessarily like them. Sometimes evil characters are much more interesting. That it's visual, that you don't have any scenes in there that play out in the character's head, because we can't put a camera in somebody's head, so it needs to be visual. And that we see, you know, you've got some kind of feeling that, yeah, there will be people out there who want to watch it because that film was successful, Let's say the humor of any particular film, you know, that shows that found an audience. So this one should find an audience as well. Those would be the 5 key things.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you, everyone. We just wanted to make an announcement today. So we are doing another live in September, because you know that July and August are the school holidays times, summer holidays. So we're not going to run any webinar in August, but we have 3rd of September. We're going to be bringing Tom Keenan And we're going to be talking about conversation, production, and producer and coach, how you can produce to prepare. Sorry, I'm just a little bit heckled. So we're going to be talking about producer and screenwriter Tom Cannon. Interviewing him, he's working with Carl for many years now. So we also have a section of the online screenwriting academy page. You can know about Tom Cannon from there as well. If you browse there, you will know about him. So we're going to be bringing Tom Cannon and Carl to talk about production and screenwriting together, the journey end to end. So it's going to be a special session for us. So please stay tuned, and we will share and the program on our LinkedIn by next week. So if you wanted to register, feel free to register, and we will have a great program together. So Carl, at the end, I just wanted to ask you, do you have a last message to the audience?
Just look forward to hear about your story. I mean, if you go on the website, it's very easy to get in touch with me, or through LinkedIn. There's an online calendar there, or if that doesn't work, just send me a message when you may be available. I look forward to talk about your story.
Thank you, everyone, and for joining today's live webinar. I'm Dr. 𝐄𝐯𝐶 from 𝐶𝐶 Marketing Agency, and I have Carl Schoenfeld from Online Screenwriting Academy. And we will welcome all you next in 3rd of September. Before then, enjoy your summer holiday. And in the meantime, if you wanted to ask any questions, our website is there, Online Screenwriting Academy. You can also contact us through LinkedIn and other social media. We have a YouTube channel, Online Screenwriting Academy. We are just updating all the lives and all the things over there. So feel free to like and subscribe. It's just started to growing, and we need your support to grow and go to the next level. So until our next live, thank you, everyone, and bye-bye.